You are kneeling in the dust at the edge of a fire-blackened altar. The heat bites your skin before the flames even touch you. Thick smoke coils around your nostrils, stinging your eyes until tears blur the bronze idol looming above. Its mouth gapes wide, a monstrous grin of hammered metal, hands outstretched like it's waiting to embrace you. You are naked. The air reeks, burnt myrrh, goat blood, human sweat. Behind you, the high priest chants in a language older than stone. You try not to flinch as his fingers draw sacred oil across your back, tracing symbols meant to purify you before what's coming. Your body trembles, but not from cold. Around the altar, the elite of Carthage watch in silence, eyes shining with reverence. You were chosen for this, honored, exalted. But what you don't know is that your body isn't being offered to the gods. It's being used by them, and the price will be far worse than death. Think ancient religion was all incense and prayer? Think again. The sacred rituals of Carthage make medieval chastity belts look like children's toys. You've heard of child sacrifice, but few know the full truth. Before the fire came the flesh. Before the urn, there was the bed. Carthaginian gods didn't just demand your life. They demanded your humiliation, your desire, your shame. In temples that doubled as sanctuaries and brothels, bodies were currency. The holiest acts weren't whispered in privacy. They were performed before crowds, in orchestrated spectacles of public degradation. And you were expected not only to submit, but to smile. Forget what school books told you about Carthage. This wasn't just Rome's noble adversary. This was a civilization that fused power, pleasure, and piety into a system so twisted it would make your skin crawl. Archaeological records reveal thousands of urns packed with charred human bones, mostly infants. But child sacrifice was just the final act. Before that came the so-called purification rites, rituals of sacred sex designed to please Baal, Hammon, and Tanit, Carthage's supreme deities. These weren't private prayers. They were ceremonies where women, and sometimes boys, were stripped, blessed, and paraded into temple chambers to serve the gods with their bodies. Voluntarily? That's what the records claimed. But history tells a blood-curdling truth. Refusal was betrayal, and betrayal meant ruin. You don't know this yet, but you've been raised for this moment since birth. Your mother, desperate for fertility, once lay on the same altar, swearing that if she bore a child, she would offer that child back to Baal. And now, here you are. Not to die, yet, but to serve in another way. The priest's oil drips down your spine, each drop a promise. In the crowd, women wail in rhythmic ecstasy, while men beat drums that shake the sky. And above it all, the burning idol stares down, its metal face glinting with divine hunger. No one told you what would happen inside the sacred chamber behind the altar, but you've heard whispers of masked acolytes, of divine consummation, of offerings that walk in whole and emerge broken. This is not mythology. This is history, recorded not only in Roman invectives, but in Punic inscriptions, votive texts, and scorched earth. In 1921, the Tophet of Salammbô was unearthed in modern Tunisia, revealing layers of ritual burial, each urn sealed with a carved symbol of Tanit, each layer more horrifying than the last. But what stunned archaeologists weren't just the child remains. It was the proximity to what appeared to be ceremonial beds, stone platforms, drainage channels, basins crusted with ancient bodily fluids. The lines between sacrifice and sex weren't blurred, they were fused. And now, the drums grow louder. The priest signals. Two temple maidens approach you, their faces painted in spirals of ash and ochre. One binds your wrists with dyed flax. The other tilts your chin up to meet her gaze. Not cruel, not kind. Just empty. As if this is normal. As if this is sacred. And then the doors of the inner sanctum groan open, revealing a darkness lit only by flickering oil lamps. You are led inside. Your feet leave the dust and touch polished stone. The screams of the child before you still echo in the back of your mind, muffled by incense. You are told this is what the gods want, what your people need. But deep down, something colder than fear whispers the truth. They are not feeding the gods. They are feeding on you. And this is only the beginning. The moment the sanctum doors close, everything changes. The firelight softens, but it doesn't comfort. It clings to the stone walls like skin, highlighting crude carvings etched over centuries. Scenes of bodies bowed, limbs tangled, mouths open in silent praise. You're led forward, not with force, but with expectation. The air is damp, heavy with sweat and resin. Behind you, the priest's chant fades into a hum, and ahead, a platform rises from the floor. Black marble veined like flesh, polished by the weight of bodies offered here before. This is no altar of death. Not yet. This is the altar of surrender, of ritualized intimacy. You are here not to burn, but to be opened. They tell you it is for the gods, that Baal Hammon demands union before sacrifice. That Tanit, the goddess of fertility, must first bless your body before she accepts your bones. But no god enters the chamber, only masked figures. Acolytes clad in ceremonial robes, faces hidden, voices neutral. One steps forward and presses a vial of scented oil to your chest. His touch is clinical, impersonal, as though you are livestock or sacred meat. His hands move lower. The others begin to chant. The walls seem to pulse with every syllable. You aren't told to undress. You already are. And yet somehow the next act strips something deeper from you. Not your clothes, your sense of self. Here's what you were never taught in school. Carthaginian sanctuaries weren't just sites of sacrifice. They were centers of divine service, where the line between worship and violation disappeared entirely. Ancient sources, especially those from Rome, described temple precincts lined with rooms for sacred intimacy. Greek historians like Cleitarchos and later Diodorus Siculus claim that women offered themselves in the temples of Tanit as acts of ritual, prostitution. But archaeology uncovered evidence that made even these accusations seem tame. In the Tophet of Salambo, uncovered in the 1920s, excavators found not just children's urns, but ceremonial rooms adjacent to altars. Rooms with stone beds stained with organic residue, storage niches for oils and cloths, and inscriptions offering not just children, but bodies to the gods. You were never meant to know this. The idea that Carthage, Rome's great rival, may have institutionalized sexual ritual alongside child sacrifice was too horrifying for textbooks. And yet, here you are, the living embodiment of it. As the acolytes lay you down, the chants crescendo. They do not ask your consent. They do not require your joy. They require only your stillness. You are told to keep your eyes open. to stare at the burning brazier where sweet-smelling herbs curl into smoke. It is meant to distract you. It does not. But here's where it gets worse. You think this is the rite, that the act, vile as it is, will end soon, that you'll be taken back to the outer court, perhaps praised for your bravery, perhaps prepared for another role. But you're wrong. The ceremony is not a moment. It is a process, days long, sometimes weeks. You are not purified once. You are broken repeatedly, offered not just in body, but in ritual performance. Each new visitor wears a different mask. Some speak to you gently, calling you beloved of Tanit. Others say nothing at all, treating your presence as a sacred tool, a living instrument for divine contact. At night, you are laid in a corner alcove. You are watched, but not comforted. Your food is plain, but laced with herbs meant to calm your nerves and loosen your muscles. Sleep does not come, only silence. Historical records from Roman sources claim these rituals were exaggerations, propaganda. But recent analysis of Punic inscriptions reveals dedications not just for the child, but through the child, or with the body, implying a use of flesh beyond the flames. Some stone stelae include offerings made after the visitation, hinting at a period of ritual intimacy preceding the final immolation. And in the sanctuary of Baal Haman, ceramic figures have been found, small effigies showing children not in postures of prayer, but of submission, bent, exposed, offered. You try to believe it's over, that perhaps you've served well enough, that they'll let you go. But when the third day comes, the high priest enters. His robes are red. His mask is gold. He speaks your name, not the one your mother gave you, but the one you were assigned when you were offered. Shemesh, he calls you. Sun boy, light girl. You no longer correct him. You no longer know what you were. He announces the time has come, the true offering. Your body will be bathed, anointed, robed in white. You will walk to the altar with sacred oils on your skin and temple garlands around your neck. And when you reach the steps, you will kneel again. But before that happens, right now, you're beginning to understand the pattern. That this ritual wasn't isolated. It was systematic. It was the spine of an entire religion. The body used not just as an offering, but as a gate, a vessel, a tool for community, for control, for submission disguised as holiness. If this discovery grips you, if you feel the weight of these forgotten rituals pressing down on you, then the truth is only beginning. Because there are more stories like this, buried beneath ancient soil. If you're ready to uncover them, to learn what history tried to hide, now is the time to keep going deeper. This isn't about subscribing to a channel. It's about staying awake, staying aware, and never again mistaking civilization for mercy. Because what happens next will haunt you. The acolytes lead you towards the light. And this time, it's not fire that waits. It's the crowd. The ceremony is about to become public. And you are the center. Now that you've seen what Carthaginian families willingly sacrificed in the name of divine power, not just their children, but their daughters' bodies, you're beginning to uncover a darker truth, history buried for centuries. If confronting these disturbing realities sharpens your understanding of how power, faith, and the human body were twisted together in ancient times, subscribe now to keep unearthing what the ancient world tried to keep hidden from you. The sunlight should feel warm on your skin. It doesn't. It burns, not from heat, but from shame. Your white linen robe clings to you, soaked with perfumed oil and sweat. Around your neck hangs a garland of fig leaves and saffron petals, wilting under the weight of the morning. You walk barefoot across the temple courtyard, flanked by 2 temple virgins, their eyes fixed on the horizon. You are not allowed to speak. You are not allowed to look behind you, but you can hear them. Hundreds of voices murmuring prayers and praises, gathering in anticipation. The entire city has come. Men in robes of deep purple and crimson. Women with braided hair, gold rings in their noses, children on their fathers' shoulders. They are not here to mourn. They are here to celebrate, to witness what they call the living union. You are not dying today, not yet. You are to be the offering of another kind, one the gods must taste before they consume. You are led to a raised platform just below the idol of Baal Hammon, his hands stretched outward, cast in bronze, already darkened by soot. But this is not where the bodies burn. This is where they bend. You are positioned at the center of the dais, surrounded by singing priests who begin the sacrifice of seed. A euphemism you now understand for something far worse than fire. You thought the inner sanctum was the end, that what happened in secret was the worst of it. But Carthage was never ashamed. What you experienced in the dark now plays out in full view, codified into law, sanctified by tradition. Here, beneath the open sky, your body becomes a sermon. And it isn't just you. To your left, another initiate, a girl, maybe 13, her eyes hollow, her hands shaking as she's positioned opposite you. To your right, a boy, not much older, marked with blue paint across his chest. All of you chosen, all of you claimed. But here's where it gets truly twisted. This isn't punishment, it's privilege. You are told again and again that this is an honor, that you are the vessel through which the gods will bless the city, that the seed taken from the ritual will be mixed into the soil with the ashes of sacrifice to fertilize the crops. Carthage, they say, thrives because of this act. You are the root, the offering, the rain. Historical records from Roman chroniclers, many dismissed as propaganda, told of these rites with revulsion. Yet recent interpretations of Punic inscriptions confirm a practice known as yaton semel, or the binding of flesh to flame. Not all sacrifices were burned immediately. Some were first marked in ceremonies involving what scholars cautiously refer to as preliminary consecration. But these weren't abstract symbols. They were people, prepared, used, broken. The Carthaginian tapets, burial grounds once thought to be cemeteries, were discovered to contain urn after urn of charred human remains, mostly infants under 1-year-old. But not all of them. Some bones showed signs of earlier injury, healing fractures, scar tissue, even adult remains with ceremonial cut marks, as if their role began long before their death. One tablet, now preserved in the Louvre, bears an inscription dedicating an offering after the sanctified use. The language is cryptic, but the implication is chilling. Some were used in rituals before the fire. Bodies made sacred not just through death, but through desecration. And still, Carthaginian law upheld these rites. According to historian Mohammed Hassin Fantar, Religious service in Carthage was deeply intertwined with statecraft. Those who resisted the cults of Baal and Tanit could be labeled arakt, or polluters, exiled, or executed for disrupting divine balance. Parents who refused to offer their children faced financial ruin, social collapse, or worse, the loss of all status. You now understand why your family stood silent when the priest came, why your father wept, not out of resistance, but because he believed. He believed your body would please the gods, that through your humiliation, rain would fall, ships would return, coins would fill the temples, and now the act begins. You are told to kneel. The crowd cheers. You hear the priest's voice above the chanting, "This is not flesh. This is favor. The gods watch." But you aren't watching anymore. Your mind folds in on itself, drifting far from the platform, the smoke, the scent of ash and desire. You imagine the sea. You imagine walking into it and never returning. But Carthage won't let you go. Not yet. Later you are led down from the dais, not carried, not weeping, just empty. Your legs move only because they must. Your garland is gone. Your robe is torn. You are a completed offering now, ready for the final fire. But even then, the ceremony isn't over. There are more initiates waiting, more witnesses, more rites of renewal. The next phase begins at dusk, and you realize something that shatters your last illusion. This isn't the fringe. This is the center. This is the law. And Carthage, the jewel of the Mediterranean, the empire of merchants and scholars and strategists, has built its splendor on sanctified cruelty, on flesh bound to fire, on children turned to ash, on your body, used and discarded. But this is not where your story ends. Tomorrow, they will take you to the Temple of Tanit. There, a final rite awaits. One that will decide whether your ashes are scattered with the common dead or sealed forever within the sacred urns beneath the high altar. And for the first time, you begin to wonder, what happens to those who survive? Who does survive? And what kind of world lets this be holy? You're about to find out. The Temple of Tanit smells like blood masked in roses. As you step inside, barefoot and raw, the scent clings to your skin like second flesh. The floor is warm beneath your feet, not from the sun, but from the braziers that have burned all day, casting flickering shadows across painted walls. Tanit, the goddess of life and fertility, stares down at you from every direction. Her eyes are hollow. Her smile is thin. Her outstretched arms, carved in ivory and gold, promise blessing. But you already know the truth. Those arms do not cradle. They consume. You are not alone. Around you, other initiates wait in silence. Some swaying, others stiff as stone. Girls and boys, stripped of names and robes, marked with sacred pigment. Every line across your body now means something. A spiral for submission, a stripe for cleansing, a circle drawn over the heart, readiness. None of you speak. You were warned. Speech pollutes the purity of the rite. Your mouth now belongs to the gods. But here's where it becomes something more than horror. Here's where it becomes a system. A priestess steps forward, not masked, not veiled. Her face is painted like Tanit's, white ash, red lips, blackened eyes. She reads from a copper scroll, not in whispers, but aloud, her voice echoing against stone. She names the offerings, not just your names, but your father's, your mother's, the reasons they gave you: for victory in war, for crops, for a business deal that must not fail. You are not just flesh, you are currency. Promises made by others, paid through you. And in Carthage, this is not superstition, it is law. According to Punic civic decrees, scraps preserved on marble tablets and referenced by later Roman jurists, temple service was not merely religious, it was civic obligation. Entire social classes were structured around sacrificial privilege. The wealthy gave gold, the devout gave flesh, and the most revered, they gave both. Refusal to participate in these rites was not rebellion, it was treason. In 1969, a tablet was uncovered near Bursa Hill, engraved with a legal directive: those who interrupt the rite or deny the flame shall be struck from the rolls of the city. Another fragment, preserved in the Carthage Museum, records a verdict from a civic tribunal. Let it be known that the house of Abiram is dissolved, for they withheld the promised vessel from Tanit's gaze. The vessel was not pottery, it was a child. You begin to understand what that means, that everything done to you was never just religion, it was regulation. Your body is not merely desecrated, it is documented. The rite begins again. You are led barefoot to the pool of Tanit. It is black still, surrounded by 12 columns. You are washed, not tenderly, but methodically. The priestess scrubs your skin with salt and crushed herbs, then pours oil across your scalp until it stings your eyes. You try to wipe your face, but your hands are pushed down. You do not clean yourself. You are cleaned, as an object, a relic. A scribe watches. He records every movement, every reaction. How long you weep, whether you resist, whether your body trembles at the right moments. These notes are not for poetry. They are stored in the temple registry, an archive so vast it fills 3 entire vaults beneath the inner sanctum. In Carthage, even the gods' pleasures are measured, weighed, filed away. But the worst part? This system works. Families who give their children rise in status. Merchants who dedicate their wives in ritual service secure contracts no one else can touch. Temple families, the descendants of generations who have served and suffered, become untouchable. The greatest political houses in Carthage trace their lineage not to warriors or kings, but to those who knelt at the altar of Tanit and did not resist. And now you too are part of that chain. You are brought to the Chamber of Echoes, a windowless room carved deep into the rock. It is lit by a single flame. A bench of polished obsidian stands at its center. You are told to kneel upon it, not for death, not yet, for the interrogation. Because before you are burned, before your bones are offered, the city must know, did you serve fully? This is what the people of Carthage will not say aloud, but know in silence. That your body must satisfy before it is sanctified. That what you endured on the dais must now be retold, not by you, but by your flesh. The priestess places a bronze rod beside your leg, not to harm, to test. The body remembers what the mouth dares not speak. The scribe watches again. You are touched, measured, examined for divine residue. And what happens next is even more horrifying, because you begin to hope you pass. You begin to hope they see what they want to see, that your shame is sufficient, that you've given enough. That if you do not flinch, if you do not cry, if you accept it all, you will be marked ready. You don't want freedom anymore. You want completion. The ritual ends. The priestess whispers to the scribe, "He has endured." And then for the first time, you are called not by name, but by function. Offering, consecrated, tier 2. You are not the only one. 3 other children, 2 boys, 1 girl, have passed alongside you. You are branded, not with flame, with ink. On your shoulder, in Old Punic script, to Tanit, the joyful one. The priestess smiles. Your trial is over. The fire is next. But before you go, one last ceremony remains, a celebration. Tomorrow, the city will host the Feast of Completion. You will be paraded through the streets, dressed, painted, adored. And when you reach the Tophet, you will climb the stairs not as a victim, but as a vessel. The people will cheer, the gods will watch, and Carthage will endure. Because that is the system, and it does not break, unless someone breaks it. The Feast of Completion begins with music, but it doesn't sound like celebration. The flutes are shrill, the drums too slow, like a heartbeat dragged through honey and ash. You are dressed in white again. But this time, the robe is woven with golden thread, the hem stiff with dried saffron and crushed poppy. It smells sweet, but beneath it, your skin aches where the ink still burns on your shoulder. To Tanit, the joyful one. You are led through the streets, on foot, not in chains, but the path is just as fixed. Merchants close their stalls. Children stop playing. Everyone steps aside to watch. You are one of 4 today, the chosen offerings. People do not weep for you. They bow. And now you see what no initiate sees until the final day. This isn't a hidden horror. This is Carthage's greatest pride. The Tophet rises at the edge of the city like a garden of bones and ash. Tall columns carved with spirals mark the entrance. Each spiral stands for a sacrifice. The deeper the curve, the younger the offering. By now, you recognize the symbols instinctively. You can even read the names inscribed on the stele. Parents who gave children, priests who blessed them, gods who accepted them. These aren't graves, they're ledgers. But what strikes you hardest is what lies beyond the columns. The crowd. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Nobles in embroidered robes. Soldiers in bronze armor. Musicians, dancers, priests, midwives, even scribes standing ready to record your name, your moment, your transformation from flesh to flame. And at the center of it all stands the altar of Baal-Hamon. His bronze hands outstretched, his mouth open to the sky, smoke already curling from the pit below. He has already eaten today. The ashes of the morning sacrifice drift upward in lazy spirals. You are the next course. But here's the final cruelty. You climb the steps yourself. No one drags you. No one binds you. You ascend willingly, because that is the rule. The offering must walk. The offering must kneel. The offering must look up into the face of the god and whisper its final prayer. And if the offering does not do this, the rite is invalid. The crops may fail. The sea may turn against the fleet. The city may burn. So you kneel. You whisper. And the priest begins the final chant. But something's wrong. The heat is not what you expected. You imagined agony. You expected fire licking your skin, before you even touch the bronze. But the flames are lower now, controlled, ritualized. The sacrifice is delayed because the crowd has come for more than fire. They've come for purification. The high priest steps forward. In his hand, a bowl of thick liquid, oil, wine, and blood. He pours it over your head as he recites the words, "Let the vessel be made clean. Let the vessel be made holy. Let the vessel be made used." Used. That's the word that breaks you. Not given, not honored, not transformed. Used. And then the priest lifts the final tool, a curved blade, not for killing, but for cutting the robe from your body. You stand naked before the people of Carthage, and they cheer, because now the ritual can begin. The fire is not the only offering today. Today, they will reenact the union of the divine and mortal, a pantomime of ecstasy and submission that precedes the final burn. A masked figure appears, robed in red and crowned with gold thorns. He is the avatar of Baal, and you are his vessel. You are made to lie back on the altar stone, and the crowd begins to chant again, slow and rhythmic, each syllable falling like a hammer into your chest. You are not supposed to cry. You do. No one stops the ritual. No one averts their eyes, because this, too, is holy. And then, when the act is finished, when your body has been claimed again in the name of gods who never speak, the blade returns, not to cut, not yet, but to mark. A priestess paints your chest with black pigment, a circle within a circle, the seal of completion. Now the fire can take you. But even this moment, the one you feared since the beginning, does not come with violence. It comes with praise. The high priest lifts your chin and says, "Blessed are you, who gave more than breath. May the gods welcome your smoke." And then you are placed in the hands of Baal. Not laid, not tossed, placed. The bronze is warm. Your body settles between the outstretched palms of the idol, and below, fire waits. You feel the first touch of heat. But not just outside, inside. Your chest tightens. Your lungs claw for air. The world becomes red and gold and pain and release. And then, nothing. The crowd sings louder. Smoke rises. Somewhere below the altar, scribes mark your passage in clay. Another vessel has been consumed. But your story doesn't end with fire, because what the scribes write next reveals the deepest horror of all. Not everyone who enters the fire dies. Some survive, and those who do are made priests. The first thing you feel is breath. Not your own, but someone else's. Hot, sour, and close. Your body aches, but not in one place. It aches everywhere. When you try to move, you can't. You're lying on rough linen. Your skin burns in patches, as if scraped, not seared. The air is thick with the stench of blood, smoke, and something worse. Resin mixed with rot. You open your eyes. You're alive. The fire didn't take you. You were not consumed. You were chosen. Your limbs are covered in oil. Your wrists have been bandaged. Someone has rubbed your skin with salves to prevent scarring. You hear murmuring beyond a curtain of dyed wool, chanting, not celebration. Prayer. Something quieter, more secret. Then the curtain parts, and standing before you is a priest you've seen only once before, the man who lifted your chin before the fire and called you blessed. He doesn't speak your name. He doesn't have to. You were accepted, he says, You don't understand. He clarifies. The fire took the smoke, not the flesh. This is the highest honor in Carthaginian ritual, survival by divine will, not a reprieve, not mercy, but a new function. You are no longer an offering. You are now a conduit, a vessel that was not broken, but transformed. This is where it gets worse, because now you must serve the fire. You are inducted into the Order of the Flame, a cloister of survivors, housed beneath the main sanctuary. There are others, older, quieter, marked like you with ink and brands. Each one bears a different script on their body. Bearer, receiver, opener. No one explains what they mean, but you learn quickly. The order does not perform sacrifices. It prepares them. And the rites you once endured in submission, you now conduct in silence. Your hands begin the rituals you once trembled to receive. Your voice chants the words that once turned your blood cold. Your eyes, deadened by pain, no longer flinch when the next child is brought in, because you know what happens if you do. They remove your ink, strip your rank, return you to the fire, this time as fuel. The flame never stops needing bodies. You become part of the machine. The Tophet, you learn, isn't just a cemetery. It's a factory. Every offering is processed. Every cry is logged. Every ash weighed. There's a hierarchy of survival here. The longer you live, the more trusted you become. Those who survive 3 years are allowed to speak to initiates. Those who reach 5 years are given ceremonial daggers and lead rites. And those who make it to 10, they become harvesters. Harvesters don't just perform rituals. They choose the offerings. You see them walking the city in plain robes, invisible to the crowd, watching families during market days, marking children, listening for mothers' whispered promises in temple corners, recording names in wax tablets. Every feast begins with a list, and you begin to understand just how deep the system goes. Here's the final horror. No one is forced, not officially. Every offering is voluntary, every ritual consensual. But what does consent mean in a city where not offering your child means losing everything? Where refusing the priests means exile, starvation, or worse, being declared unblessed? Archaeological records discovered beneath the Bursa excavations in the 1970s revealed clay contracts signed by parents promising a child for future rights in exchange for trade licenses, debt forgiveness, and grain subsidies. These weren't temple superstitions. They were government policy. The gods demanded, but the city ensured compliance. Your survival teaches you that religion in Carthage was never about the divine. It was about control. The temples kept order. The fire enforced it. And the priests ensured the next generation would never imagine another way. Years pass. Your voice changes. Your skin thickens. You no longer remember the names of your siblings, only the prayers. You are promoted. One day, you are handed a list of names. You recognize one. It's your cousin's daughter. You hesitate, but not for long, because you know the rule. If the gods aren't fed, the people will burn instead. And in this moment, standing beneath the columns of the sacred chamber, you realize the final truth. Carthage wasn't built on war. It was built on belief, on bodies, on the silence of those who survived. And now, it is your silence that sustains it. You came into this story perhaps thinking of Carthage as a tragic empire crushed by Rome. Now you leave knowing the horrifying price paid behind temple doors, the bodies and minds of the young, sacrificed to gods that demanded more than fire. If seeing through the clean myths of antiquity has awakened your appetite for the truth beneath the marble, subscribe to the channel. Keep learning what the ancient world doesn't want remembered, and why it matters that you do. And yet, you ask, could this really have been? Historical sources say yes. Roman chroniclers like Plutarch and Tertullian describe child sacrifice in Carthage not as myth, but as annual practice. Excavations of the Tophet uncovered over 20,000 urns, many containing the charred remains of infants, some with adult fragments, evidence of preliminary rituals before immolation. One stele reads, "To tanit, for fulfillment of the vow, for the favor given." But bones don't lie, and neither do inked names on scorched clay tablets that show the same family names offering again and again, generation after generation. Carthage wasn't an anomaly, it was a warning, a mirror. And that's the part that should terrify you most, because in every era, in every civilization, people are willing to offer bodies for blessings, to trade dignity for rain, to believe that fire makes them clean. And if this journey through Carthaginian ritual has shaken your understanding of history, if it has forced you to reconsider what civilization really means, then don't stop here. There are darker chapters still buried, stories forgotten on purpose, and each one is waiting for someone who dares to look deeper. You just did. Now keep going.